Hi, this is Seb, and welcome to this preview of how you will soon be able to create your own custom interface assets in TypeScript for the player next gen. I'm saying soon because this is going to use a new part of the platform, which is called this Interface CDK Component Development Kit, which is not yet released publicly, but which I've been using myself for the last 6 months. So I'm going to show you today how it works, how I've been using it myself to create these custom IAs, custom interface assets, and to show you how much easier it is compared to what you had before with JavaScript and the play of on Android, iPads, etc., and even easier, in my opinion, as what we had in .NET for the player for Windows. So let's have a look first at this article. Again, it's a draft, it's an internal draft, but I'm going to use this as the reference today. So we're going to follow this documentation and create a custom IA together here. All right, so first of all, yes, it's not yet accessible. You have some prerequisites. You need to install Node.js. You need to install Visual Studio Code. That's the tool that we recommend to build these IAs, these custom IAs. Angular, maybe not yet for you, but Angular CLI, the command line tool, definitely you will need that. And the schematics command line. So that's the particular command line that you need to type to install the schematics toolkit of Angular. All right, once this is done, and I already have this on my machine, so we can actually dig in how to create an interface asset. So first step, we need to create a folder on our drive where we're gonna create this IA and then open the folder in Visual Studio. So I'm gonna go here, create a new folder. Let's create a calculator demo. And again, today it's not a code lesson. We're gonna create a super simple thing that does A plus B. But that would be a good example, I think, to show you how to create an IA with properties, triggers, and actions. So we have a folder. Let's go into the folder. I'm going to take that path here, copy the path, and then go into Visual Studio Code, open folder, grab that folder, and get into it. So obviously right now the folder is empty. We have no files at all. So let's go back to our documentation. The next thing we need to do is open a terminal and then punch in a bunch of command lines. So we need to install first the schematics that interface is going to provide to create an interface assets. So let's do that. Open a command line, just paste this line, hit enter, and wait a little bit. This is going to download a few modules that are required to build an interface asset, as well as some templates. All right, we're good. Once you have installed this, back to our documentation, the next thing, well, we have installed these schematics, now we can use them. So the command line is this one, schematics, and we are going to use the create function of the schematic. So let's go here, punch in this, create. We're going to have a prompt asking us what's the name of the interface asset. So let's call it calculator demo. Hit enter. And you're going to see a bunch of files appearing on the left-hand side in your Explorer. It's still installing a couple of packages, so let's let it do its job. All right, package installed successfully, we're good. Now, if we have a look at the files here on the left, you can see you have an SRC, like the source code, with a calculator demo.ts for TypeScript. Now, this is going to be your main file, the main file in which you're going to write your code. And this is not an empty page, right? It already has all the import things that you need. It has the declaration for your asset with some decorators that gives the name of the interface asset. So that's how it will appear in Composer. Declares the class, and then gives some examples of one property here, a constructor, one trigger, and one action. So starting from here, you can just basically do some copy and paste, rename these properties, triggers, and actions, and build your own code. So we're going to go with, again, a very simple IA with one method that waits for two number parameters and does A plus B. So our action is going to be here. I'm going to call this one add numbers. And I want this to be displayed in Composer, add numbers like this, numbers with an S. I will need two parameters. So number one, number two, number A, number B, input A, input B. Yeah, let's go with that. So input A, which is going to be a number. I need to set that as well into the decorator. You can see here we are describing what this parameter is, again, for Composer. So in Composer, we'll try to show something a bit more user-friendly with uppercase letters and blanks. And we can add a description here. The first input for our addition. Okay, let's get rid of the code for now here, the sample code. Now I need a second parameter. So I'm going to go from here to here. That's the whole parameter. Copy that, add a comma, and then paste my second parameter. Call that B, and we want an input B. So we have that. Now, I guess this is going to do A plus B and store that into a result property. So we need a result property, and we're also going to raise a trigger saying that, hey, there's a new result available, and we could add the result as a parameter of that trigger. So let's go up a little bit and declare our result property. So I'm going to add a result here, which is going to be a number. A display name, I want an uppercase result. The result of our addition. And you will see you have additional properties, and we will document that when we release it. In this particular case, we don't want this property to be read and write. It's a read-only property. We just want to display the result of the operation. So read-only, I'm going to add here a true, so that you cannot see the property in Composer and try to force it to edit it to punch numbers into that thing. So that's our property here. I'm going to add a trigger, let's say new result, name, new result, and a display name, new result available. Something a bit more. That's where Jeff would give us the right names and descriptions to add. Again, this is declared just as a function. If you want to raise a parameter, you can add the same thing here. So I'm going to do that actually, and let's copy a parameter declaration and add this here, which will be my result. So that's the new one, which will come with the trigger. It will have a parameter. It will embed the result as well. Result, and the result of our latest operation, because that's when the trigger is ready. So that declares one property, one trigger with one parameter, one action with two parameters. I only use numbers here. You can use string, you can use booleans, and you can also declare your own classes and add your actions here, your objects here, I mean. Now, the code itself, well, result equals A plus B. No, sorry, input A plus input B. And except the result doesn't exist, it's this.result because we declare this as a property, a parameter of our class. So that this object is important here. Save. We don't have any errors looking here, so the code seems to be good. Now, what do we do? How do we use this code? Back to our documentation. We need to build the package. You know, TypeScript is going to be interpreted and in the end transformed into JavaScript, but the CDK is doing that for us. So just doing an npm run build will build this distribution package that you will then include in your Composer and in your experience. As of today, before running the build, I do need to add these two lines here. That's temporary. This will be much easier with the public CDK, just to make sure I'm in develop mode and I can add breakpoints into the TypeScript while running the Player Next Gen. So I'm going to just add these two lines in here. Okay, and then I can do my npm run build. Should be pretty quick. And you will see a new folder here. There we go. So we do have a new distribution folder, which will include an IFD. For those who are familiar with the JavaScript interface assets, remember how you had to write this manually? Now all this is generated by the CDK. So no need to mess with that. And all of the information here is retrieved through the decorators that you add in these add things, the display name, the description, etc., etc. So all of that IFD generation is completely automated now, including some JavaScript files which are generated and optimized, and some additional files because I asked to build in debug mode, so it's easier to debug in Composer. So the next step, how do we use this code? Well, we need to get this folder available in Composer, like an interface set as before, same thing as the .NET and the JavaScript. And we need to restart the Composer so that the Composer actually sees the file. That's for the first time you do that. After that, because it's TypeScript and not .NET, you can just copy and paste the new distribution files directly in your project folder and keep running in plain without restarting your Composer. That's pretty helpful. So let me go into, these are the files we need, the dist. The way I do it, usually I just copy that and call it the calculator demo. That's my folder. I'm going to cut that, go into my interface folder, into the interface assets. I have a bunch of them on my machine of custom ones. So let's copy that, and then we can launch our Composer. All right, so we're in Composer, blank project, calculator demo. Let's add an interface asset. Open our libraries. And here I'm going to search for calculator demo. Okay, that's the one I just created. I can add this to my experience. And now, because this is in TypeScript, you won't see a lot in Composer's edit mode. You will really need to go into play mode using the PLN, the player next gen mode, to see something. But you can access the properties and you can see result. I probably forgot a T, which is 0 by default. I have one trigger, new result available with one parameter, and I have one action, add numbers with input B and input A and input B. Okay, so let's try to use that. Actually, I'm going to drag and drop the result, or result, which is 0 here. I will add 2 text inputs, so we can actually have our input A and input B. And again, this is a dummy quick test to show you the process of creating such a, and I'm going to do my add button here. Let's go with the add. Okay, so when I press this button, what I want to do is call on my calculator demo interface set, add numbers. I want the A. Don't ask me why they're reversed. Maybe because we haven't released yet. Interface, no, in the scene, I want to grab the first text input and I want its text value. It would be, I want to grab the second text input text value. Okay, all right. And then just to test my trigger, usually I like to have like something like this, which will just, blink, showing that, hey, something happened. That's an easy way to show that a trigger has worked. So when a new result is available, I want in my scene, my ellipse, I want to change its opacity to 1. And then I'm duplicating this, bring it back to 0.5 to 0.5. And I want all this to be much quicker. So it's just a quick blink. If we test, blink, that will tell us we have a new result. If I want to go to be very thorough with my test, I will add another text here. And on the same trigger, I will do a set text. So I'm going to add another action, text, 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 set text. And I'm going to bind this here. I could use the read-only property of our interface set, but because we already have a text bound to it, that would be not really useful. But the one thing I want to test here is on my trigger, I have this result parameter. So that's yet another way of retrieving a result of an operation, depending on what you're trying to achieve. So we'll have the binding test here on the left and the trigger parameter test here on the right. So saving the project, Control S, and then project, select the simulate on player next gen. once we make this publicly available, you will have this third option here below the Windows and the other platforms. So you do need to run into PLN, Player Next Gen, to be able to test these TypeScript interface assets. Let's hit play and see how, first, if it works. Second, how can we debug that and make sure if everything's going as expected. All right, let's first test without debugging. Let's be confident. Yeah, at least the binding works. Trigger action parameter, I know we have something working on the binding stuff, so I'm not really surprised about that. Not a big deal. Although, you know what? Actually, we didn't raise the trigger, so no, that's on us. So let's open the DevTools. Control-Shift-I, same as in Edge or Chrome. This will open the regular DevTools. Remember, Player Next Gen is an HTML player, so you can access the elements here. What we're interested in, though, is doing a Control-P, search for our calculator demo, not the JS, the TS. And that's thanks to the debugging options I added. We have access to the TypeScript code, and we can debug directly within the TypeScript code. So that's pretty helpful. We have our @ numbers here, and actually what we did this result, so that's why the result is okay, but we never called the trigger. That's why the trigger was not raised. We didn't see any blink here. That's kind of normal. Let's fix that. So I'm going to exit the play mode, go back in code, in Visual Code, I mean, and here we're going to, raise trigger. The trigger is just a function here. So this dot new result, and this awaits for a result parameter, and that's this dot result. That's it. That's all I was missing to actually raise the trigger and pass something as a parameter. Let's build that again. And now I will show you how you can quickly update your experience and make sure you don't lose time into closing Composer, reopening Composer all the time, as you had to do with .NET Interface Assets. So while it builds, I'm going to open here on the left my distribution folder, which is here. This is where we're going to have the updated code. And through Composer, I'm going to do a right-click, open file location. That's the folder within the experience that we are currently using where the code is. And we're going to do copy from left to right once this has been built. Now, I'm purposefully skipping the My Interface, My Documents interface assets. Don't forget, when you're ready, when your code is good, you will need to put your code back into this folder, so the version you have access to in Composer is the proper one. This is just a shortcut to help you into your debug process. So copying all the files from my distribution into my project, yes, replace, go back in Composer, hit play. That's it. It will automatically reload the latest files you have copied into your experience folder. So before trying, I'm just going to open my debugger again and Control-P, calculator demo. We can see we have the new lines here, so looks good. Let's do a 2 + 3, 5. It blinked, and now we have the 5. So forget what I said about the trigger. This works. Either using the binding as on the read-only property, or using the trigger parameter and doing the set text works. If I click again, you can see hopefully you can see that the black ellipse is blinking, showing that yes, the result is the trigger is raised. That's it for this video. Again, this is a preview of how the CDK works, a very simple one. Maybe one quick thing I can say is that you may have seen some videos published about the Stripe integration on the Samsung kiosk. That's a TypeScript. I used this CDK, the shopping list, which is a pretty known one, and then quite a few other things like talking to the printer on the Samsung kiosk or the barcode scanner, things like that. So a lot of things are already working. That just needs a bit more testing and polishing to make it available for everybody. But that's, in a nutshell, the process to create a TypeScript interface asset for the Interface Player Next Gen. Thank you.